Welcome, guys. I'd like to just say a big welcome to Michelle Walshe and Leon Kirkbeck from Augusto, who have joined us today just to talk a little bit about how Augusto and the team are coping with what's happening in our virus environment at the moment. So Michelle and Leon are coming to us hunkered down in an apartment somewhere in Auckland. So welcome, guys.
Thank you so much for having us. And I just want to say, first up, I think this initiative is really, really fabulous. Like the idea that we can reach out and learn from what other businesses are learning and doing and experiencing in this time is really valuable, because we all need to band together. It's a very tumultuous time now and what will be coming in the next month. So thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, well, look, guys, thank you for your time here. And I think to start with, there will be some of our group members out there that actually don't know much about Augusto. So perhaps if you could just tell us a little bit about your business and how many staff you've got, what you do, and that would be a great start for us.
Yeah, sure. There's probably more people that don't know about us than that do. We seem to sort of go under the radar a little bit. But we're a combination of a production company and studio and an ad agency. We've been around for 12 years now, since we started in the last financial crisis.
Yeah.
So it all feels a little reminiscent of that, probably a lot worse. But we got up to about 50 staff recently. We've had a little bit of natural attrition over this last couple of weeks with some contractors and that we've sadly had to let go. But I guess it's all understandable in this environment. But we do everything from campaign work for the likes of New Zealand Tourism, Adidas, AIG, and the like, Fonterra, as well as a lot of smaller companies as well. And that's everything from campaign concept development right through to the actual film production and design work and motion graphics work. So that we're pretty much full service in that side of things. But also on the film studio side, we actually documentary makers and film production studio. We made Chasing Great, the documentary about Richie McCaw that Michelle directed. And more recently, things like Jessica's Tree, the little series about mental health and what have you. And we just recently started an office in New York, where Michelle and I moved our 4 children to New York and been there for the last couple of years.
We just Goldilocks out of there, leaving steaming porridge on the table, pretty much.
Caught the first flight to New Zealand.
We really did. We're so grateful to be back here during this. It wasn't a difficult decision to come here. Actually, the catalyst was less about our health, although now looking at it, that certainly is a big motivator to not be there. But we basically booked the first flight back when this all hit, and our clients started calling and jobs started being pulled immediately. And we realized that we just needed to be close to the team through this. So we arrived here before the lockdown. We'd already been in lockdown in New York. New York was a few weeks ahead. So our offices and everything were shut in New York already. And we'd been working from home for about a week. And then we, packed up our stuff as quickly as we could and flew out here before this was in lockdown. So it was very surreal. It felt like we'd just come from the future, and everyone was still kind of high-fiving on the beach. And we had to obviously get locked down again in an apartment for the isolation period. So we couldn't even go in and see the staff. We're in the Viaduct. Our office is at City Works Depot, just in the middle of the city. And we were like, we're close, guys, we're here.
We're in the same time zone, at least.
But the advantage of being in New York was that we knew that we were going to have to lock down the office really quickly. So we were putting plans in place immediately to start locking down the office. And we actually had a continuity plan. Our managing director, Amy McCammon, is from Wellington. So they are very well versed in having continuity management plans. So she put in place a really solid plan for us, and we already had our systems ready to go to work remotely, which is so important when you have, what do we have, 6 full-time editors and motion graphics people, not to mention the design teams. So fortunately, we feel really lucky that we were able to very quickly action that, and we had our teams working from home before the lockdown actually officially happened. So that was good. That was sort of felt like we were able to action stuff and move very quickly. And, I don't know how much difference it made fiscally, or that's impossible to say, but what it did do is it made it feel like we were in control of the situation, and we were able to inform the staff very quickly of what our stages of action were going to be. So pretty much the first day we landed, I think we landed at 5 a.m. and at 9 a.m. we were giving an all-staff meeting about what our stages were going to be.
Wow.
So that felt like, that was a really settling feeling, I think, for everybody. And we had some great feedback from the staff to say just being informed and feeling like there was a plan was really comforting. We actioned nearly immediately a process of asking the staff whether they were happy to go to 80%. And again, like the feedback from the staff was unanimously positive. They were so supportive, incredibly sort of stoic, and there's this wonderful, joyful pig-headedness that we were just like, this is going to be fine, and we're going to band together, and damn it, we're going to find our way through this, whatever's going to be thrown at us. That was the sort of immediate reaction.
It was super humbling to have them, like really pull together like that. We literally didn't have one person arguing. We had some people in the lower end of the salary scale, the juniors, some of them planning weddings and what have you in a few months' time, and and coming to us, prepared to reallocate their finances to make it work. And so it's just like, it's one of those sort of...
It was very, very, very humbling. That was probably the most emotional part, is seeing the staff give so much, that dedicate so much of their thinking and heart to what we were about to undertake. Some of the people even said, hey, look, I could go to 3 days a week or whatever. So it was incredibly generous. So we're so grateful to them for that.
Yeah, that's fantastic, guys. And how have you, which is great that you were able to get everyone mobilized to working from home so quickly, which has been fantastic. How have you been able to keep the motivation going? Because we know that there are some people that love working from home, and I'm one of those people. I actually find I'm really productive when I'm working from home, and there are other people that can't think of anything worse, or they don't have the right environment, or their kids are running around, or there's just no space. How have you found just sort of keeping that productivity level going, and motivation and happiness and that kind of thing?
We're really lucky in the fact that the staff that we have feel a lot more like a family, like a large family, and so we've had a lot of staff that have been with us for a long time. So and we've always been really pro people working from home when they can, when they need to, and everybody's very comfortable in knowing each other's partners largely, and kids and what have you. So it wasn't too much of a shock, to be honest. And what we've been doing is we very early decided that we would have a 9 o'clock Zoom call every day of the week, whereas previously we'd only do all staff meeting. We're doing them every morning at 9 a.m. And that's largely to force everybody, including ourselves, to get out of bed and get dressed, and and to have the camera on, and for us and
the kitchen bench wiped down
and kids running around making breakfast behind us. But the interesting thing with that is it's really important. We were talking about this morning with Amy, our GM, she, about the fact that quite often now, because we're updating everybody so often, every day of the week we're all getting together, quite often we're just talking crap and just shooting the breeze, and saying, and I think that's really important, because that's what you do at the water cooler, and that's generally over in half an hour, and everybody
we have a different person lead each one, and then we have somebody else show a piece of work at the end that's non-COVID related, just to see something going on that's interesting. I think one of our concerns was not so much the cohesiveness of everybody getting online, it was individual people's mental health and energy to get up every day. So it was less about the work, more how do we create a community where everybody's feeling good and energized. And we know that working with a whole bunch of creatives, myself included, that we are all happiest when we're working and creating. So we made sure that actually we had some projects that were sort of on the back burner that we could quickly roll out to with their proactive jobs, or we're developing an app in the sports space for youth sport. And so we had a whole campaign we needed to write for that. And so it was just really important that we quickly rolled out a lot of work. And the other thing I think too is just making sure every team leader was really cognizant of how every person in their team was doing physically, mentally, support-wise. And we check in on that all the time as well, that there's no one that, because there's a lot of quiet people on the call, there's a lot of extroverts in our group, and there are some introverts that don't say a lot. And so we just make sure that each team leader is checking in individually with every team member, and we've got a kind of a check-in with all the team leaders to make sure everybody's doing okay. And
we've kept a few traditions going, like we'd normally always do sort of Thursday afternoon drinks or Friday afternoon drinks or pub lunch on Friday. Yeah. And so we've kept those going. We all get together. It's a lot cheaper for the company because everybody has to provide their own booze. So that works really well. One of the benefits, silver lining. And yeah, but so that in a lot of ways has been really important. So yeah, it's different, but it's good.
We're only week one,
Yeah, that's the thing. We are only at week one. It's going to be really interesting by week. Well, I don't know. My feeling is that it's going to go longer than 4 weeks. But, I think at least if we can be future thinking anyway, whether it's 4 weeks or longer, that's the important thing, is just trying to think down the track. But that's great. Week 1 over, which is awesome. And how, along just, I guess, prior to lockdown, because the country was feeling very unsettled prior to the lockdown anyway for like a week or more. And then during the lockdown, what kind of feedback are you getting from your clients and your different types of clients? And I mean, in terms of, I'm guessing a lot of them had knee-jerk reactions. Some of them might be a little bit more.
Our revenue fell off a cliff day one. And that's partly because we have a lot of big international global brands that we work with. Adidas in America cut all shooting immediately globally. And we had shoots lined up as in the following Tuesday. We had a huge amount of work in pre-production and production that just had to halt overnight. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty confronting. There's no doubt about that. But as we thought would happen, we're all in an industry for the most part where we work with people that need to communicate. And as we thought would happen, we have different jobs coming in that we didn't before. Jobs where people are needing to do live streaming events. And they need graphics packages for them, for example. Now, that event would never have come to us because it was going to be a live event in Los Angeles, and now they're having to do it as an event. And we have a big brand we've been working with in the US in the infant space that, thank goodness, decided to go ahead with their launch this week. We had 150 videos in production. So, there's things like that where you're like, thank you. And now there's, clients popping up saying we really want to keep engaging with our audiences, and this is a time to add value. So no, they can't buy anything from us, but actually we can create a whole lot of value add for our customers and brand love, really. And so that's been really exciting to see, and lots of cool opportunities coming up from that. It's requiring our team to get pretty creative in how we tell our stories and how we direct.
Absolutely. And an interesting thing, because you guys are just all about content, for a lot of the work that you do is content, and the content requires production. And in an environment where you can't get out of your environment to go and shoot anything or bring people together, how are you kind of noticing that content? What is it?
Production environment is really fascinating because there's a lot of, I think, opportunities that are going to come out the back end of it. Well, there's a lot of opportunities showing up already, and I think the landscape is going to change a lot from it because everybody's got a 4K camera on the back of their iPhone.
Thank goodness for cell phones.
It's, and also the media landscape, the quality of video content, to be quite fair, has been dropping over the years. You know, your great big filmic ads are still there, but they're way less in population than compared now to a lot more kind of ropey, real, gritty kind of stuff. And the influencer space has been huge on that through social media. You know, kids now, and well, not TikTok. Only kids, people that are used to handheld at an arm's length selfie videos and what have you. So I think it just opens up the opportunity. I mean, I love what 2 Degrees do, or what the agencies, Assembly and all those guys, TBWA, whatever it was, did with 2 Degrees. And I think it's that kind of opportunity that it only exists in this type of environment. And I think for us as a bunch of creatives in a creative service industry, environments like this represent just as much opportunity and chance to do some really crazy, weird stuff, because this kind of landscape doesn't come along every day.
The limitations can be helpful in some respects.
Yeah.
Because you know what your parameters are for sure. And
so do the audience. So the audience go, well, that's clever. I see what they do.
And also the clients know too, you're limited, so they can make decisions quite quickly. So we've had a couple of really great briefs come in that we've turned around very quickly because we are limited. And so if you come up with something good and fresh and you can do it fast, you're able to do it very quickly. It's funny, I've just got a funny story, is that we've got a director downstairs who's just come in from Brooklyn as well, just coincidentally, and he's like, I just need to make stuff. And at nighttime we've been sitting on the deck dreaming up ways to shoot a film in this environment, and we think we've cracked a really nice story that we can tell, a little love story, which we'll probably shoot over the coming evenings. So, you know, creatives will create and they'll do it with whatever parameters you give them.
But also, I think from the optimism side of things, yes, it's hard for the production market at the moment because we can't get out and shoot, or not easily. But I think there's a huge opportunity coming New Zealand's way, in the fact that if New Zealand have done this right, and our fantastic government, bless them, have, you know, shut the borders really great, and I think we're doing fantastic. I'm hearing a lot of conversations going on around the fact that if we are the people who have closed our gates the quickest, and we're going to come out of this in the shortest amount of time, we could potentially be the first Western country in the world to have cameras back out again. And from both the marketing and advertising side, that gives the opportunity for brands to send work our way and line produce stuff down here potentially. But also from the entertainment side of things, there's a massive glut of entertainment, and it's, you know, everything's shut down. There's going to be a huge demand for content out the back end. And if New Zealand is the first to have cameras out, then I think we should, as an industry, expect a little bit of a boom after this as well. And I think it's something that everybody should be encouraged to keep fighting for, to keep their doors open for that glimmer of hope. I think it's really
that's by no means like, I mean, the percentage of that happening, I don't know how small that is, that we can contain and be first out of the gate. But what if we could? You know, I think you have to, like you say, hold on to hope that can happen. And when we get through this, there'll be all these brands needing to communicate again.
And we've got a unique place in the world. We're the most isolated country in the world. At a time like this is where we need to make it work for us. And I think that as an industry, I think we can.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. I know. I mean, I hadn't thought, you know, anything along those lines. So that's really wonderful to hear, guys. And when, like, that's obviously a really positive potential outcome for content production and for our industry, for wide ranging across the industry, which is great and amazing for people to think about. Have you started to think, and I know it's early days yet, but have you started to think of, you know, ways that perhaps your business as Augusto as a business might come out sort of changed and improved, and, you know, positive, like the positive aspects of this for your company?
Well, I think along with all the positivity, you also need a healthy dose of potential realism and the potential of what that could be. And we know, for example, our New York business is really under threat at the moment. We've got some fantastic clients there. And we were right in the thick of shooting a pretty exciting documentary, as well as a whole lot of work in the sports space. So that's difficult for us to imagine what the future of that could look like. But with, again, putting on your optimistic hat, I think that we could really cash in more on the fact that we have all these extremely talented people who do turn things overnight, turn over work overnight. And we've seen a huge desire for that. Our clients in the States know that all our work comes back to New Zealand anyway. And so if we can open up more of those opportunities with our clients in the States and say, hey, we still can turn incredible work around for you overnight, that's a good opportunity. So in terms of how our business will change, I think it is a really good opportunity to just pause and think about, can we be more nimble? Can we be leaner? Can we offer us more international services?
I think also, look, we have to be completely real. I mean, we're having this interview on the morning that Bauer just announced that they're closing their doors here. There's going to be a lot of companies that don't make it through. Will Augusto be one that makes it through? Who knows? It depends how long this goes on for. We've all got a limited lifespan in a moment like this. But I think if we do come out the other end, I think you said it really well. It is almost like a huge reset button. And I think a lot of us have the opportunity to actually stop and go, okay, we were just doing what we were doing before because that's the environment that we created for ourselves. And you get busy doing what you do. And then to have the ability to be able to change tack or to be able to reimagine your life and the way that your business runs.
You've said a few times, like, what the future of work could change now so much. We could all actually say, you know what, working from home a lot was great. Yeah. And maybe the future of work looks like we all get together much less often, or we have 4-day weeks, or we have unlimited leave, or we are just much more efficient with our meeting time. Although that might, to be fair, our Zoom calls go for as long as any meeting. There's just no travel time in between, and you can make yourself, lunch at the same time.
It's interesting too when you look at, one of the biggest overheads for any company is rent, or leasing or whatever you've got, and it is interesting to see how many of our agencies and companies are going to just stay working from home, for at least for a time.
Do you think that will happen? Have you heard more of that? The chance of that happening?
We're kind of hearing just whispers, it's like the what ifs, and this could, and it might, and like, I think we're all very social creatures, and we love that. We love to be together, and there's something, especially within the creative industry, there's a spark that happens when we can be in the same room, looking over the same, the same creative content, sharing those thoughts together. And you can't replicate that when you're not in the same situation. But I wonder, maybe office spaces are going to get smaller, and like you say, come in, come out, not everyone has a desk, maybe.
I'll shamelessly use this opportunity as a wee plug out there for anybody who needs any office space.
Yeah. We might have some extra space.
Yeah, if anybody out there needs a few desks and wants to camp out with our good people.
In all seriousness, though, I do think it will take a lot of us collaborating in ways we haven't before. We've talked before about the fact that we are in New Zealand quite private and competitive, and we don't tend to, put a hand out and help our fellow agencies and production companies and whatever kind of agency, whether it's digital or experiential. And I feel like now it really is the time to put our hands on each other's backs and say, how can we help? And okay, so maybe you don't have office space. Well, we might have some, and hopefully that will continue long after this. And I'm conscious of us not sounding overly upbeat and optimistic when there is a lot of people going through a lot of hard stuff, and it would be untrue for us to present that we're not going through hard times and
that we're really shit scared.
It is scary. There's no doubt. I mean, we have an apartment in Brooklyn and an office in Brooklyn. We don't even know how when we can get back there. Very kindly, the High Commissioner of New Zealand is looking after our cats at the moment in Brooklyn. We've got this kind of double weird life. Our house here in New Zealand is rented out by somebody else. We're in somebody else's Airbnb. We don't know what the future of the business looks like. So I definitely don't want to paint that this is easy by any means. I think it's just we tend to, as people, always look for the hope in the situation, and we're glass half full people. We're just sort of determined to find the positive and find a way through it. And if that's going to take us supporting other agencies all day long, we'd love to be able to do that, and hopefully this group will be a catalyst for us giving each other a bit more of a hand.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic, and obviously I completely agree with you there, and I'd love to just think that we can all support each other at this time. But look, thank you so much, guys, for spending this time. Is there anything that you'd want to particularly say before we sign off?
I just want to say that last speech sounded like the end of Braveheart or something. It was amazing. I'm inspired.
I'm going to live with this. I'd like some tips for working with this close to your life partner and co-founder. No, really, other than just, if there's anybody out there that has taken the time to sit through a very long interview, if there's anything we can do or any advice, or you want to pick up the phone or ask how we're handling even a technical, legal, accounting, how we're trying to utilize subsidies, NZTE, different funds that are coming up, please reach out. We'll hopefully do the same, but we anything we can do to help.
If you want to collaborate on something,
And if anybody needs a video, we're here.
Oh, fantastic, guys. Hey, look, thank you so much. And look, we wish you, on behalf of the group, we wish you and Augusto all the very, very best going forward. And we'll just keep checking in over time, see how the next few weeks.
Great.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks,
team. Good luck out there.
Can't wait to get everybody together and have
a distance drink.
Yeah. Once we can all trust that each other's clean.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
All right. See you then. Bye.